So welcome everyone. Today's class is going to focus on building dynamic stability in the shoulders. So not just strength, but the ability to balance and to move and keep our shoulders spacious and happy. And there will be lots of options for everyone. So just make sure to honor what your body is craving today. With that, we can take our quarter turn to the left. Move anything out of the way and gently make your way onto your back. Hi, Deanna. What a treat. I was just thinking about how much I missed you today. You must have felt it. So I'll just say, I was thinking about how I missed all of you, and then you came. Yay. So from the back, take a moment just to close the eyes if that feels comfortable, and the legs can be extended or the knees can be bent, just so you have the opportunity to really sink in and relax very deeply. And if it's comfortable to breathe through the nose, just start to inhale slowly, gently through the nose and feel the body expand three-dimensionally. So not just the chest, not just the belly, but also the back of the body. And then as you slowly and consciously exhale, feel the edges of the body just gently pulling towards center. Ever so subtly, you might just feel that contraction supporting the center of your body, especially the spine. And just take a few slow, smooth, conscious breaths to tune in. And sometimes when we're breathing into the chest or through the mouth, we create tension in the muscles around the neck and shoulders. So as you do this very smooth, deep, full nose breathing, see if you can release some of that tension. Give yourself the opportunity to lengthen the back of the neck, slide the shoulder blades around. Make any adjustments to the feet, the knees, so that you're continually finding more space and more freedom. And then we'll start to move. So if you are using the playlist, you can hit play on the first track, Weightless, and make sure it's set to loop. And let's ever so slowly start to paw our feet down the mat so that we all meet fully extended. And we're going to start with warming up our joints a little bit. So bend the elbows so the palms face the ceiling, and internally rotate the arms, or rather just bring the hands towards the belly. That's gentle inward rotation. Let the elbows float a little wider away and then set them down. And then allow the fingertips to draw a big rainbow. And so this is taking your shoulders into external rotation. And just take a few of these arcs and just notice the sensation in the shoulders, and resist the temptation to push all the way to the edge of your range of motion. Instead, just try to feel what is comfortable, what's supported, where do the shoulders stay connected into the body rather than winging out. And then add the hands in. So as the fingers comes towards the belly, curl the hands in, stretching the back of the wrist. And then as the hands come out, extend through the front of the wrist, finding a little more space. So the hands just mimic what the elbows are doing. Can let the fingers do the same thing, curling in as the arms curl in, fanning out as the arms fan out. See if you can continue to feel your breath as you add in this gentle movement. And then smooth out the movement and soften and allow it to become a little more organic. So instead of rainbows back and forth, maybe the hands just start to circle a little bit, and see if you can notice how this relates back to the shoulders. As you breathe, imagine filling the back of the rib cage so that the ribs meet the shoulders and there's a really nice stable connection there. Might mean you have to push the back of the body subtly towards the ribs. And then allow the movements to get bigger. So now the shoulders are starting to join in. The elbows can float if that's comfortable, and you can make bigger circles, figure eights. You can draw something sort of fun too, almost like trace the curve of a bunch of waves, bringing the hands in and out. And all the movements that you do, just try to notice how they're relating back to the shoulders. And let's finish by reaching the arms overhead, letting them get heavy, and then bend the elbows any amount so that the shoulders can relax and your position feels sustainable. Feel free to bring the arms to a T or closer to the body if that's more comfortable. We'll go through a similar exploration with the feet. So let's just start by pointing the feet in and pointing the feet out. And just like the arms and the shoulders, avoid trying to push into your biggest range of motion. Instead, just try to move in a supported range where you feel a lot of control. And start to notice how the movement of the feet relates up through the leg, up through the thigh, all the way into the hip socket, maybe even to the low back and the deep core muscles. And the next time the feet are pointed up, drag one heel in at a time, not quite a bridge, just drag it in a few inches, and then do the same thing, inward and external rotation of the legs, but just notice how the sensation changes in the knees and the hips now that they're creased. Be very kind and gentle on your hip socket. They might not feel ready for a lot of external hip rotation, so maybe this movement is actually smaller than when the legs were extended. And then paw the feet in towards the sits bones, setting up for a bridge prep pose. Reach the hands towards the heels and just bounce the feet a couple of times, letting them naturally land where they want to land, which might be a little wider, a little narrower where you were before. And then let them settle in and start to arch and round the spine, kind of like cat-cow. Notice the sensation on the back of the body as you do this. Notice the relationship between the shoulder blades and the back of the body as you do this. And then let the movement get less and less until you can find that perfect middle ground where the spine isn't arching, the spine isn't rounding, but it's neutral. And remember, neutral means there's still a slight curve in the low back. So there will be space between your back and the mat, but just a little bit of space. Now just take a couple of breaths and witness the very deep, subtle muscles that are online to help you maintain this neutral. And then see if you can use them to lift one foot at a time, so it points at the wall ahead of you, without letting the hips sway. I notice if my core's off, if I lift my right foot, my pelvis tilts to the right, and it takes a lot of focus for me to prevent that from happening. But it doesn't take a lot of gripping or strength. It's kind of a subtle effort. So just take a few repetitions and notice if this experiment helps you turn more of the deep core on. You might feel more support around the spine. You might even feel the shoulders stabilizing to help support a neutral pelvis. The next time the right foot is up, pause there and let the arms reach towards the ceiling. Start to compress the space between the thigh and the belly. Maybe the head lifts a little bit, but it doesn't matter. And then release back to where you came from. So head down and foot floats forward a couple inches. Take a couple of these compressions and really try to feel the movement coming from your center. So it's really about squeezing the body and the thigh together and letting the torso and the head lift any amount, but not straining anywhere. And then see if you can start to extend the arms and legs a little further apart each time you set the body down. You don't want any tightness or clicking in the front of the right hip. That happens to me a lot, so don't feel bad. Just give yourself extra support by setting the right foot down and letting it glide long instead of keeping it floating. The next time you reach out, pause there, kick into the left foot so you can slowly roll onto the right side of the body. Keep the head hovering. The left foot can stay where it is, or you can line it up with the right foot, kind of like a sideways Tadasana. And then again, just notice the deep core muscles very subtly supporting you so you don't wobble too much, but it's okay if you're wobbling. That's beneficial too. Let the left foot slide in front of you. You'll notice you might want to go towards your belly. We're not going there just yet. Then glide the left foot behind you, set the foot down back to that half bridge, circle the arms around you, and we'll go the other way. So drag the right heel in. Let's just take one nice slow bridge pose. Notice the shoulder blades gently pressing down. Let the hips be supported yet ungripping. And then melt the spine down, and we're going to add on to our marching arms and legs. So as soon as the hips lower, let one leg bounce up like a reflex and then set it down, and do that a couple times. So we're playing between bridge and our bounce. Hi Annapurna, welcome. And with these bouncing movements, it takes a lot of control to not let it just be this intense end range kind of thing. So try slowing it down. Still let the momentum generate the movement, but then let the movement be really controlled. So you're not going too far and you're feeling every step of the way. Option to add the arms in as you bounce. And the next time the left foot is lifted, we'll pause there, no need to rush. And then we'll just start those compressions of squeezing belly up towards the thigh, reach forward, and then back to where you came from. And take as many as you want, and then start to lengthen out when you feel like that compression has started to make sense to you. Remember, you always have the option to lower the left heel. You don't want any strain in the hip. You want the hip to feel really safe so that everything is natural and nothing is gripping. I'll just take one more. Connect with your breath. It can be really helpful to exhale as you reach long. And now gently push into the right foot, rolling onto the left side of the body, keeping the head hovering as long as there's no strain in the neck. Option to hover the right foot over the left or keep the right foot where it is. See if you can breathe smoothly and fully here. And then glide the right foot forward. Instead of rolling on the belly, just notice what it takes to counter that. And then lift the right foot, bend the right knee, place the right foot behind you, and roll onto the back. Once again, pull both legs into the chest. And now we'll try compressing with both legs. So bring the belly towards the thighs, squeeze the thighs into the belly, and just let the spine and head follow. They might not lift very high, and that's totally fine. Set the head down, grab behind the legs, squeeze the thighs in, and then kick the legs forward to pull you all the way up to seated. You can take a couple of rocks, but you might not need them. Hi, it's so nice to see your faces if I haven't seen them yet. Let's wake up the arms a little bit, and so be really gentle at first. Sometimes the wrists are sensitive, so don't bring a lot of weight into the hands just yet. Just say hello to the pinky side of the hands and keep the elbows really deeply bent. And then imagine the arms like really big, heavy springs that are kind of hard to compress. There is some resistance there, but you're able to compress and expand each arm because there's that springiness in the wrists, the springiness in the elbows. And then come on to the fingertips so that you can sit up really nice and tall and just take a moment to connect with the breath, lengthen the spine, and again, feel the relationship between the shoulder blades and the rib cage. And then wrap your arms around your legs, allowing your body to compress, but a little more effortlessly than when we had to resist gravity. And then kick into the feet. Take a gentle twist to the right. The knees can fall to the right if that feels good. And then go the other way and be mindful of the back hand. It is starting to weight bear, and so just notice that springy quality. Can you keep that little bend in the elbow and that suppleness in the shoulder? Next time you come through center, extend the legs ahead of you. We'll keep going with the twisting. You can stay upright, or we'll have the option the next time you twist towards the right to lengthen all the way down to the belly. Take a moment to drag the hands back, lengthen through the front of the body, gaze down, just letting the front of the body support you in this back bend. And then lift the left leg, push into the hands, and stretch the left leg behind you to go back to where you came from. And I know most of you have done that with me before, but let's take a couple repetitions just so you can get more comfortable with that. And if it isn't comfortable, stay upright and just take a twist however big feels good for you, and let the left leg lift, but it doesn't have to cross all the way over. When you're ready, you can start to explore going the other way. Option to pause in Cobra if you want that, or just play with the roll. And you can start to roll from side to side if your space allows. If you're scooching all over the place, I recommend just rolling to one side and back to Dandasana. I'll just give you one more moment to play with that nice Annapurna. Ooh, Annapurna just added in a nice little forward fold. That looked great. And so did Deanna. So feel free to add in a forward fold if your body wants that. We'll just take one more and we'll meet in Dandasana. Walk the feet in and bring your hands to the mat just like where you were before. And we're going to add a little more weight here. So paw out the mat, keep the elbows bent, and just draw some circles with the rib cage so that you can wake up a little more sensation in the shoulders. They don't have to be big circles. And then pause at center, let the rib cage fill the volume of the shoulder blades, and play with just hovering the hips. And if that's not comfortable, then just sit up a little taller, but give yourself that opportunity. As the hips release down, option to change the direction of the hands and just take a couple of pulses. Sometimes where you think is your spot isn't necessarily the most comfortable spot, so give yourself the opportunity to explore. And then we'll rest and center. And a lot of you were here last week, and we had a transition into Malasana that we will come back to, but I want to give an alternate transition because I know that's tricky. So if you loved that transition and you want to go for it, you can just start playing. I will teach it to you, if you don't already know it, a little bit later. So if you would like to learn the new transition this week, slide the left foot forward a little bit and then tuck the right foot underneath that space. Walk the right hand forward. Your anchor points are your left foot and your right hand. So push down into the left foot, push down into the right hand, and just start to slide the right knee back just a little bit. Great. And then walk the hands forward so you're in a short lunge. Nice. So shorten the space of your lunge and keep the weight in your front heel and start to circle the weight in that front heel. And try to keep the big toe down so the foot stays pretty anchored and the movement really cyclones up from the heel, up the shin bone, all the way up to the hip socket. And I have been actually thinking of this as a prep pose for Malasana, that deep squat. So see if you can keep the weight in the heel but bend a little deeper into the left knee, and just notice any sense of support behind the left hip as you continue to circle. And then we're going to step forward with the right foot into Malasana. If that's not comfortable for you, you can step forward to a forward fold. So lift the back knee, shift the weight forward, step the right foot outside the right hands. Option to drop head and lift hips, or option to lower hips and lift the head. And in Malasana, we don't want to sink down into the joints, so try pushing down into the legs and getting a little further from the ground. And then let's all turn our toes forward, bend the knees deeply, let the head hang, but with support in the core. So you feel like the neck and head are an extension of the spine. Sway the hips from side to side. And then bend the knees, bringing the hips to the heels. Walk the hands back to your reverse table. And then either lengthen the spine or lift the hips. Make sure you can breathe. Set the hips down, and we'll do that same thing on the other side. So inch the right foot forward, or take the Malasana transition if you already know it. Scooch the left foot in between the space between the right heel and the hip. Plant the left hand off to the side. Push into right foot, left hand, and slide the left knee back. Walk the hands in. Make your adjustments so you have a nice short lunge. Anchor the right heel, and then just start to circle the weight in the right heel. And if it's comfortable in the knee and the ankle, play with bringing a little more flexion into the knee to help you prepare for Malasana, or to help you gauge whether you want to do Malasana or not. And really try to feel the sensation in the hamstring and the back of the hip, because we do need a lot of support in the back line of the body for Malasana to be safe for our knees and our hips. And so from here, lift the back knee, step forward and either forward fold or take a moment in your buoyant squat and even bounce the hips a little bit just to make sure you're not sinking down. And then turn the toes forward. We'll all meet in a forward fold. This time, climb the hands up the legs, let the spine lengthen, and push into the feet to very, very, very slowly rise up. It should take a couple of breaths to make your way all the way to the top. Good job, everybody. And once you've arrived at the top, take a moment to witness the sensation of the soles of the feet. Notice any of those deep core muscles that helped you find neutral in the back. See if they're showing up to support you right now. And then just gaze upon the shoulder blades and notice them resting on the rib cage. Let the breath help the rib cage and the shoulders connect. And see if you can even lengthen the neck up, creating more space in the tops of shoulders and neck. Okay. You can go to the next track on the playlist if you'd like. You can also grab a sip of water as long as you're doing things. And we'll just prepare for our standing sequence. So let's meet where we left off, in the middle of the mat with the right side of the body towards the screen if your space allows. And luckily, we all have our invisible rubber bands. They're very heavy, they're very thick, they're wrapped around our ankles. Grab onto them and slowly start to pull the rubber bands as you reach your arms up and overhead. Just feel that resistance through the front of the body as you start to lengthen. And then let the rubber band start to pull you forward effortlessly. Bend the knees, melt back down. And let's repeat that. Make any adjustments with the feet if you need to, and then grab the rubber bands, stretch them forward, shift the weight into the heels, and then pull the rubber bands to create a lot of strength and support as you lengthen the front of the body. This time, shift the weight into the left foot, and as the hands come down, let the right knee spring up. Make some circles with the right ankle. Relax the shoulders and the hands. Go the opposite direction with the ankle and try to move a little slower and smoother. This is probably your awkward direction because we usually go the easy way first, so be compassionate if it feels funny. And then gently set the foot down, but really try to control that length, just like you did on your back as you extended the leg. Glide the right leg back, bend the left knee, and start to sweep the hands forward so you feel this opposition between the foot and the hands. We're setting up for Veerabhadrasana 1, so the back toes will be mostly forward, but give yourself permission to scooch the left foot over to the left so you've got a lot of space for your hips. And then push into the feet, straighten the legs, let the arms reach up. Exhale, bend the left knee and soften the shoulders. Let the whole front of the body melt. And then at your own pace, nice and slow and natural, each inhale, lengthen up. Take your time, no rushing. And then each exhale, bend into the front knee and let everything soften and just drip into Veerabhadrasana 1. And let this be a really delightful moment to connect with your breath. And the next time you're reaching up, pause there, and we'll add a little bit of side-to-side movement. So drop the left arm and push into the right foot to lengthen the whole right side of the body up to the right armpit, all the way up the right fingertips. And try to feel that long line from right heel to fingertips. And then back through center, bend the knees, bend the elbows into our melting, dripping Veerabhadrasana 1. And then straighten everything as you go the opposite way. So now the left arm reaches up away from the left ankle. And if you want to sync this to your breath, try exhaling into Veera 1 and then inhaling into the side bend. Or do whatever is natural for your breath. The most important thing is that you're tuning into your breath and you're not forcing it, you're following it. And slow is strong. The next time you're in dripping Veerabhadrasana 1, push into the feet, reach both legs up, lengthen up, gaze up. And then bend into the front knee, shift the weight forward, pull the elbows down into cactus and let the right foot hover towards your calf or higher if you'd like, and just pause in tree pose. Let the shoulders soften, feel them anchor onto the body, connect with your breath. And then set the right foot down, melt the arms down, and just pause. We'll do that same thing on the second side, but take a moment to feel anything that's opened for you or been stimulated. And then we'll go the opposite way. So grab the rubber bands, pull them forward and up, creating resistance as you lengthen the whole front of your body from the tops of your toes all the way up to the front of the neck. And then as you come back to neutral, let the left knee spring upward and take some gentle circles with the left ankle. Go the opposite direction and see if you can keep your pelvis totally steady here. And so the only thing moving is the ankle. And then extend the leg forward slowly with control. Point the toes, bend the right knee, bring some weight into the right heel, and start to glide the left foot back as you reach the arms forward. Let the feet be wide from right to left, and then the left foot only goes as far back as is comfortable. Sweep the arms up, straighten the front leg. And whenever you're ready to exhale, try bending the front knee and just melting the arms. And take your pulses here and just make sure as you float into your Veerabhadrasana 1, there's no pressure in the low back. If you ever feel pressure there, try to support yourself with the front of the body just like we did with those rubber bands. You can even grab onto them. They're still there. They're so convenient. And you can lift them back up and see if that unloads the sensation in the back of the body. And we'll just take a couple more pulses here. Think of this as like a moving meditation where you're really sinking into your breath. And the next time you're reaching up, pause, and we'll go from side to side. So drop the left arm and start to reach up and over to the left with the right arm and feel that connection between right foot all the way up the right side of the body. And then on your next exhale, melt into Veera 1. And then inhale through center, up and over the other way. And keep trying to feel the relationship between the arm that's reaching and the leg on that same side that's anchoring. And feel that dynamic opposition. And it's not about reaching as far as possible. It's really about making these connections so the body feels supported and can move efficiently with big muscle chains instead of in isolation. And the next time you're at center, pause there, bend the front knee, shift the weight into the right foot, and elbows pull down as the leg pulls up. Set the foot onto the calf or the thigh and just pause in Veerabhadrasana or in Vrikshasana, the number one yoga pose that people know the name of, and I forgot it. And just take a moment and tune into your shoulders. Give yourself the opportunity to melt the arms down. We did kind of a lot with the arms, so just pay attention, see if they need a little break. And then set the left foot down and just shift the weight from foot to foot. Imagine the hips gliding, right? So your movements are really smooth and controlled, and as the weight shifts from foot to foot, the pelvis is just staying completely level and gliding from side to side. And as I started to talk about this, my hands started to do this. So feel free to glide your hands with your hips. And then gently come back to center. Grab the invisible rubber bands. Make sure that you've got enough space ahead of you that you can walk your hands forward to downward facing dog. So you might need to inch back a little bit and then grab your rubber bands and stretch them out in front of you, lengthening the whole front of the body. And then let the body start to compress, coming down into forward fold. Bend the knees. Bend the knees really deeply and start to sway the hips from side to side. Bend the knees so deeply that your body can drape on your thighs. And as the hips sway to the left, just stretch the right hand out any amount that's comfortable. And then as the hips sway to the right, do the same thing with the left. And just keep swaying the hips and lengthening one hand at a time. It's okay for the heels to come up. You don't want any strain here. But just try to notice this sense of the spine pouring out of the pelvis and lengthening forward into your downward facing dog. If you need a break at any time, you can lower the knees. You can also enter down dog from table if that's more comfortable. And feel free to keep swaying the hips from side to side and just notice that side body connection. Hips sway to the left. You might really feel the right side lengthen and vice versa. Come to center and very slowly lower your knees to the mat. Press the hips towards the heels. Tuck the toes under if that's okay on your body. And then push into the legs. Start to round the spine up for cat pose, rolling forward until the shoulders stack over the wrists. And then drag the hands back, just finding a neutral spine. We're not coming into cow. Paw out the hands, tune into the shoulders, make sure they feel supported. And then from center, find your neutral spine. So it might take a little baby cat-cow and then find that middle ground like we did on our back before. And then start to glide your left foot back. And just notice any deep core sensations coming on to support you. They're very subtle. Glide the leg back in and try the other side. And it's sometimes when we hear core, you can repeat this at your own pace. We think of like exertion and like a challenging movement. And what I'm asking you to discover here is really deep and subtle. The deepest layer of your core sometimes feels like putting on a seat belt or a tight pair of pants, just that little hugging in and up. The next time the right leg extends, pause there and push the weight into the left hand. Let the left knee swivel towards the right a little bit and slowly stack the body. You don't want any strain in the knee, so that's why it tilts to the right. Release back down and just take a couple of these slow stacks to make sure that the left hand feels okay with taking a little bit more weight. And the next time you're up, bend the left elbow. Make sure it's springy. Play with hovering the right foot. It might just be an inch. It might just be the idea of hovering it, or it might be a little more. If that's going okay, bend the right knee, bend the elbow, and crease the hips a little bit, almost like you're trying to draw everything towards center, but just a little bit. And then let everything reach out. And just take a couple of these little compress and extend moments. Hi, Bella. And the next time you compress, take that strength, set the right foot down, and very slowly lower the hips off the mat. Bring the right elbow and knee together and push into the right foot, letting the right side expand once again. And then let's go back the way we came. So very slowly point your body towards the mat and make sure the knee comes with you so there's no strain in the knee and the hip. And we'll play with going the other way. So bring the right knee down. And now start to glide the left foot back first. And then shift the weight into the right hand. Very slowly start to stack shoulders on the right hand and make sure the knee pivots. You can take a couple of those stacking moments, and the left hand doesn't have to come all the way down, so you don't have to reorient the knee. That's sort of nice. And the next time your left hand is reaching upward, play with hovering the left foot. You can reach left foot and left hand away from one another and make sure that there's no pain in the low back. You can always come up higher on the fingertips. You can grab a block if you've got one. And if you would like to explore the compression, bend elbow, bend knee, flex hips a little bit, and then expand. Option to sync this with the breath. And I'm purposefully not telling you what movement is the inhale and what's the exhale because you can do either and they just have different benefits. So let whatever's naturally happen. The next time you compress, very slowly rock the right hip towards the mat so you can lower down on the other side of the mat. Bring left elbow and knee together. Push down into the right hand and very slowly unfurl the left side of the body. Take a couple of pulses and just be aware of the right hand, making sure it's feeling springy and supple. And the next time you come upward, very slowly go back the way you came and keep that little bend in the hips, knee, and elbow so that you've got a little more control. Great. From here, tuck the toes under, walk the hands in, and depending on your feet, you might stay right here and feel like, whoa, I'm already getting an intense foot stretch. Make some circles with the hips just to explore the sensations in the bottom of the feet. If you need more, you can do the same thing from upright. So there's just more weight in the feet and there's a little bit deeper of a stretch. Just make sure it's comfortable, right? You want to explore in a safe way. Go the opposite direction, circling. And then flatten the tops of the feet and come up to a high kneel. And bring your hands to the front of your hip. We want to keep this area flat and just start to bend the knees a little bit more, let the body float back, and then to neutral. And you're doing it right if you feel the quads supporting you here. So it really is a lot in the front of the thigh. And if you want to explore, you can lean back into the right and circle through this movement and then go back the way you came. And it doesn't matter how far back you go, you just want to feel supported and strong. No pain in the knees, but a lot of strength in the legs. You can try pushing down into the tops of the feet and make sure you can breathe. And then pause at the top. We've got two options. You can sit to the side of the legs and just kick them forward. Or if you were enjoying the intense toe stretch, you can play with coming through center and slowly shifting the weight forward and back. Just keep the hips really buoyant. So you're not sinking down into the knees, but you're really engaging the legs. The next time the hips come up, you can slowly roll over the feet and bring them down behind you. Okay, plant the hands behind you and just play for a moment in reverse table. And then set the hips down and push into the hands as if you were going to do reverse table, but instead just lengthen the spine and hover the hips an inch. We're going to play with some crab walk. So opposite hand and foot step forward, and then opposite hand and foot step forward. And move as slowly as possible. If this isn't comfortable, you can stay and just take pulses in one place. When you get to the end of your mat, take a sideways crab walk, which actually is the true crab walk, right? Go a couple steps to your right, and then we'll draw a square. We'll go back the way we came. And what I really love about these crab walks is they give us a lot of stability in the shoulder, but we're constantly moving. So the shoulders are having to re-coordinate and re-find support. And now take your sideways crab walk to the left, back onto your mat. And set the hips down. And we'll take a little break with our rolling from before. So let the legs extend a little bit. Release over the legs. And then kick into the legs to unfurl. Start to twist to the right, rolling onto the belly. And then push into the left hand. Reach through the left foot to roll back. And let's add that forward fold in this time. And then kick into the legs. Roll the other way. If you don't have enough space to roll both directions, just do a few to one side and then scooch over and do a few to the other side. And then option, as you roll onto the belly, whatever leg is further from your yoga mat, you can bend that leg, gaze over the opposite shoulder towards the foot. And if you have trouble knowing which way to go, try to feel the way the momentum is carrying the upper body. And the next time you roll into your forward fold, pause there. Feel free to rock from side to side. And then walk the hands in. And so we've got our options. You already know one way to get to kneeling, the way we did before, where you tuck the right foot in and push into the right hand. If you want to try our Malasana Transition, lift the feet. And as you lower the feet down, push into the hands to roll into Malasana. You can take a couple of those. And then we'll all meet with our hands in front of us and just play with lifting the hips a little bit and shifting the weight into the hands. And then back to the feet. So it's just a little forward and back rocking. Keep the elbows bent. And you can unroll at any time. If you want a little bit more here, we're going to do a crow prep pose by bending the knees and pushing into the hands so that we can take a little hop back with the legs and then drag the hands with you and just take a few little hops. They can be really small or they can be really big. You don't want any strain in the neck and shoulders, so if it doesn't feel supported, just keep playing with shifting the weight, but don't worry about going too far. And then when you're at the back of your mat, walk your hands in, slowly lift the hips, let the head melt, connect with your breath. And then with or without the hands, slowly roll up. Just make sure everything feels supported, especially the low back and the neck. And just pause at the top and let the body drink in all the work you've done so far. And have a moment to grab water and change to the next track. Or just breathe and be in your body. Okay, let's go for a little walk. I feel like my body really wants to go for a little walk. And so just like we did with the crab walks, try to move really slowly and consciously. I know you walk all day long, especially Deanna. She walks a lot. But really try to notice the support in the ankles, in the knees, in the hips, in the shoulders. When you get to a dead end, just turn. And you can walk normally, but maybe the way that you're walking is a little different because you're just present in your body in a different way. And we'll all meet in the middle of the mat with the right arm facing. So same direction that we were pointed before. I'm so happy to see you didn't race to your mats. Good job. You're really in the moment. Grab those invisible rubber bands. Start to stretch them up and overhead. Whole front of the body lengthens. Shift the weight into the left foot. Arms down, right knee up. Point the right foot forward. Bend the left knee. Glide the right foot forward as the hands reach. Push into the feet. Slowly rising up, reaching up. And then melt the front knee and drip the arms down into goal pose. The heart can open, Veerabhadrasana 1. And then kick into the feet, straightening arms and legs. Start to reach over to the left, and then through center, over to the right. And then reach up with both arms and bring your awareness down to the feet. Slowly start to make little circles with the arms. And just notice how the whole rest of the body, all the way down to the feet, respond to this. And you don't want any pressure in the low back. And so the circles might be really, really small. But just notice how this circling can wake up more support on all sides of the body. And the next time you're reaching forward, bend into the left knee, keep reaching forward, and just notice the line from the right foot all the way up out of the arms. Start to bring some more weight into the left foot and reach the right arm back. Stretch right foot and left arm apart and let the hips open any amount. Keep the left big toe anchored for Urdhva Chandrasana. Feel free to hold and pause for a moment or set the back foot down at any time. And now let's all bend the left knee, bring the right toes down, and just like we played with bending everything to come to center in our side plank, do that here until you can gently lower the back knee and lower the hands. Good job, Mom. That looked very graceful. Slowly extend the back leg and glide the left foot up and back into three-legged dog. You can also leave the right knee down if that's more comfortable. Two options here: lower the right knee and transition the way we did before through our side plank, or keep the right leg lifted and stretch the left leg behind you for wild thing. So basically it's the option of whether the knees and hips are up or down. And then let's all bend the knees, bend the elbows, crease the hips to slowly, gently lower the hips down towards your crab pose, slightly off of the mat. We're not quite in crab, but we're making our way there. Take a little side crab back onto the mat, and we'll prepare to do the other side, but I want to add one thing in first. So extend the legs in front of you, bend the knees, melt the body forward, and then kick into the legs and notice how that just naturally rolls you up. Plant the hands behind you. This first round, just hover the hips a touch. And then set the hips down, bring the feet in so you've got some more support, and slowly lift into your reverse table. Option to extend one leg towards a reverse side plank and just notice how that feels. And then bring the foot down, lower the hips, and repeat. So you lift the hips, extend the leg. Actually, it feels really nice to lower the hips while the leg's extended. walk the foot in, and try again. So hips lift, leg extends, hips lower, walk the foot in. Last time. So if it felt supportive with one leg out, you can try this like ripple into reverse plank. I'll demo it one time. It'll take the movement you just did, kicking into the feet, but as you unroll, you'll let your body lift a little bit higher. Make sure you're moving slowly so the momentum doesn't take you too far into it. But we'll just take a couple of pulses, bending the knees and melting forward, and then kicking into the legs and unfolding. Last one. And slowly set the hips down. Walk the feet in. You've got two ways to get through center, so either tuck the foot in and go around, or take a moment through Malasana and then plant the hands in front of you. Before we had our little frog kicks where we pushed into the hands and we hopped. You're welcome to keep playing with that. You're welcome to just shift the weight forward and back. If you want to play with crow pose, bring the hands to the mat. Slowly shift the hips upwards so your hands start to take a little extra weight. And bend the elbows. As you bend the elbows, make sure you can feel support on the back of the body so there's no tension in the tops of the shoulders. And then just bring the shins towards the triceps. And then take a break, fold forward. And do that a couple of times, just bending, bringing the feet in, noticing how it feels to shift the weight forward. And if that is going well for you, you can play with lifting one foot. Make sure you can breathe. And if that feels stable, you can play with lifting the other foot. And then just compress the legs towards the belly like we have done in so many of our poses today. And when you're ready, you can set the body down. And either pause in Malasana or forward fold. And then let's all meet in a forward fold because we still have our second side of our standing sequence to do. And so very slowly make your way up with or without the support of your hands. It's extra important to move slowly after an inversion like bhakasana, but good thing we always move slowly. We've got our bases covered. From here, grab your rubber bands, stretch the arms up, lengthening the whole front of the body, and then hands down, left knee lifts. Point the left foot forward, bend the right knee, drag the left foot back. So the arms reach forward. Find your Veerabhadrasana 1. Lengthen everything. And then take a side bend either side. And then the next time you're up, reach both arms up, straighten both legs, and just start to add in that cycloning movement so that you can discover a little bit more deep core strength. We're not moving very much, but maybe you can feel the very deep, subtle muscles that are supporting you, and try to feel the upper body connected all the way down to the feet. The next time you're reaching towards forward, pause there, bend into the right knee. Keep a lot of weight in the right heel and the right big toe. Very slowly shift the weight into the right foot. Find your drishti. Reach the left arm back and then kick into the right foot as you reach the right hand and the left foot apart. The hips might open a little bit or not. They don't have to. Make sure you can breathe. You can put the left foot down whenever you want, or pause and hold and enjoy. And then we'll all set the left foot down and Make our way through center, so knees bend, elbows bend, so we can melt towards center, lowering the hands down, and either lower the back knee or keep it lifted and glide the right foot up and back. Option again to lower the knee as you start to rotate open, letting the right foot come behind you. Keep the hips nice and high. And make sure the low back feels supported. Whenever you're ready, you can release the hips down, bend the legs, place the hands behind you, and take your little crab walk back onto the mat. We are headed towards our cool down, but I do want to give you the option, if you want to take one more of our waving planks, or if you want to play with bhakasana one more time while you're warm, you're welcome to. I'm not going to cue it because I want everyone to do what their body is craving. If you are ready for your cool down, go to the next track because it's more calming. Nice smell. Great, Roseanne. And if you're waiting for what's next, you can just add in a gentle twist from this seated position. Take your time exploring. Can you? And let's make our way towards our back and ever so gently start to melt the elbows towards the mat, shifting from side to side. Scooch the hips forward. And then recline. Keep the knees bent, soles of the feet on the ground, and bend the elbows so that you can bring the backs of the hands underneath the hips. If you have sensitive joints and this isn't comfortable, I'll give you another option. But if it feels good, just rock the hips from side to side, giving your wrists and your hands a massage. If that's too much, just take the hands freely and just squeeze them into fists very gently, or make some little circles with the hands. We're just trying to massage the wrists. So find the best way for you to do this. And then if this feels good on the wrists, you can play with doing it with one arm by bringing the right arm under the body, gently rolling to the right side, and using the body to massage the upper arm and the shoulder, really the whole arm, but we're focusing our movement on massaging the shoulder. And we did a lot with the shoulder, so I wanted to focus the cool down on massaging the wrists and the shoulders. And so if there's anything that you are craving and you really want, just go for it. Otherwise, you can stay with these really simple compression-based movements that just give a little squeeze to the muscles that were supporting you. And then roll onto the back and go the other way. So now you're rolling towards the left. The left arm is under the body. And the movements can be really small, or if you want to focus them towards the back of the shoulder a little bit more, or the front of the shoulder, that's fine. And then make your way onto your back and give yourself a big hug, and the fingertips will often touch the shoulder blades a little bit, or towards the shoulder blades. And just imagine that space behind the heart opening as the shoulders curve onto the sides of the back, and make some little circles so you can massage that space between the shoulders and the space where all the muscles attach in the inner edge of the shoulders. You can bring the neck into it by gently gazing to one side. Just make sure there's no strain. And then from center, reach the hands towards the feet, walk the feet in, and we'll take one last bridge pose, but you don't have to come up very high. Just make sure that you feel supported and light, and so maybe it's just a 1-inch bridge pose. Just give yourself the opportunity to find space in the shoulders, space in the spine, space in the hips. And then from wherever you are, just gently sway the hips from side to side and let them very, very slowly come back to the earth. Open the arms to a T. Walk the feet nice and wide to the edges of the mat, and just let the knees fall to one side. Option to gaze the opposite way. You can rest in this gentle twist, but make sure the knees, especially the inside of the left knee, doesn't feel any strain here. If it does, just point that knee a little further up so it doesn't inwardly rotate so much. You can also take this a little bit more dynamically, rolling from side to side, massaging the low back, massaging the ankles, massaging the spine. So choose whatever would be most nourishing for you. And this is the last thing that I have planned for you. So feel free to add anything on, a happy baby, or just hugging the knees into the chest, whatever would help you feel as balanced as possible. We will be rolling up for meditation, and then we'll have time for Shavasana at the end. There's no need to rush, but whenever you feel balanced, you can find your way up to seated, the most comfortable and supported way for you. And feel free to sit in a chair or grab a cushion. You just want to make sure, however you're sitting, feels kind on the hips and kind on the whole body, but it's the hips that are usually treated poorly as we sit. And if your music is still playing, you can hit pause on your music. Feel free to adjust your lighting, grab a shawl, whatever would help you be really safe and cozy and comfortable. And once you've found your seat, do a little scan of the body, as we've done a few times in class, and just notice if those deep core muscles are supporting you, helping you find a neutral spine. Notice the sensation in the neck and shoulders. Though we did a lot with the shoulders, my hope is They feel very stable and the neck feels very free. You can test it by just gazing from side to side and noticing any sense of support in the neck. And then from center, just start to notice your breath if you haven't already. And the goal of these classes is to help us relax our nervous system. And so just notice if the breath is naturally feeling more relaxed, more smooth, maybe even a little slower. And then support that by letting the breath slow down just a little bit more. And it shouldn't feel like you're holding it or forcing anything. It's almost like you're bringing more consciousness to it. And so you can enjoy each moment of it with a little more depth and a little more length. And I've really been enjoying breathing slower, and it should always feel natural without strain, but I've noticed somewhere between 4 and 6 Mississippi works for me. And we will use a mantra in a moment, but just to get that length, let yourself count. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, and get a feeling for the length that feels right for you. The exhale should be equal or longer than the inhale. And once you've found a length that you like, you can swap out your counting for the mantra Om Namah Shivaya. And I like to stretch it out so it syncs with my breath. And so it might even sound like Om Namah Shivaya. Or you could do a few regular paced ones for each inhale. Just find what feels natural to you and start repeating the mantra with each slow conscious inhale and exhale. And we just have a couple of minutes of meditation left. And see if you can seize this opportunity by letting go very deeply, letting go of any thoughts or worries, tension of the body, of the mind, of the emotions. And then just take the next 2 minutes to bring as much focus and reverence to the breath and to the mantra as you can muster. Imagine getting complete space and separation from anything weighing on you. And the mantra guides us towards an experience of the inner self, this perfect place where we're completely balanced and joyful and free, and it's always available. We just have to take this leap from where we are, and the breath and the mantra will guide us. You're welcome to stay upright for as long as it feels nourishing. You're also welcome to now transition towards Shavasana. We have 10 minutes left of class, so choose what would be the most nourishing for you. And if you are reclining, give yourself permission to make any final movements or wiggles as you let yourself relax. Just check in with your shoulders and give them a little space by walking the fingers away from you so the neck and the tops of the shoulders are free. And you're welcome to continue focusing on your long, smooth breathing, or just release completely and let yourself bathe in the energetic state that you've tuned into from being present and conscious for the past almost 90 minutes, and just harmonize with the state you have created. First, notice your breath. Your breath is your connection to prana, vital life force. And so with each breath, imagine the whole body, every single cell, soaking in extra energy. Can make any gentle waking movements. And take your time making your way up to seated. Add anything in that the body's craving. And we'll all eventually meet seated with hands at heart center. And just take a couple of breaths to notice how your shoulders are resting on the body. You can ever so gently smile with the mouth and notice how the inside responds. And we'll seal our class in chanting 3 ohms, and so we'll take one breath together to sync up. Nice, slow, conscious inhale and exhale. And with your next inhale, we'll chant. Thank you so much for practicing. Namaste.